There's a problem I've noticed in the way we often talk about being nice. Somewhere along the way, we began equating niceness with goodness, kindness, and even strength. But these are not the same thing. Niceness, as it is commonly practiced, is not the virtue it appears to be. In fact, it can be a trap, a self-defeating cycle that holds you back, erodes your integrity, and diminishes your impact on the world. Let me explain. When we are taught to be nice, the message we internalize is that we must avoid conflict, prioritize harmony at all costs, and ensure that everyone around us is comfortable. While this may sound noble, it often leads us to compromise on honesty, authenticity, and the hard conversations that are essential for growth, connection, and progress. Being nice becomes less about kindness and more about self-preservation, a way to avoid the discomfort of disapproval, rejection, or conflict. And that's not strength, that's fear wearing a polite mask. Think about the situations where being nice becomes a liability. At work, the nice person avoids giving honest feedback because they don't want to upset their colleagues. They sugarcoat their words, dilute the truth, or worse, say nothing at all, letting problems fester. In relationships, the nice person sacrifices their own needs to keep the peace, slowly building resentment that eventually poisons the connection. In personal ambition, the nice person hesitates to set boundaries, say no, or advocate for themselves, fearing they might come across as selfish or difficult. What happens to these people? They feel stuck, they feel unheard, they feel invisible, and they don't understand why, because they've done everything right. They've followed the script that society handed them. Be nice and things will work out. But that script is a lie. Being nice, in the way we've been taught, isn't the key to success, fulfillment, or meaningful relationships. It's a trap that keeps you small, keeps you quiet, and keeps you afraid. And try not to understand it, only be wise to know what your real pain is, not your subconscious pain. This doesn't mean you should be rude, cold, or unkind. Kindness is a strength. Empathy is a strength. But niceness, the performative kind that avoids conflict and prioritizes appearance over substance, is weakness masquerading as virtue. And if you want to live a life of impact, purpose, and authenticity, you have to stop being nice and start being real. Being real means being honest, even when it's uncomfortable. It means saying no when something doesn't align with your values or priorities. It means having difficult conversations, even if they lead to conflict, because avoiding them only leads to greater pain down the road. Being real is about integrity, about aligning your words, actions, and values, even when it's hard. It's about showing up fully, not as a sanitized version of yourself designed to please others, but as your authentic self, willing to risk rejection for the sake of honesty and growth. This shift requires courage. It's not easy to break free from the habit of niceness because it's deeply ingrained. From a young age, we are rewarded for being agreeable, compliant, and pleasant. We're told to smile, to be polite, to play nice. And while there's nothing wrong with basic civility, this conditioning often teaches us to suppress our true selves in favor of fitting in. We learn to prioritize other people's comfort over our own truth. We learn that being liked is more important than being respected. But here's the truth. Respect matters more than likability. The people who make a real impact in the world aren't necessarily the ones who are liked by everyone. They are the ones who stand for something, who are willing to take a stand even when it's unpopular, who are willing to say what needs to be said even when it's hard. They are the ones who understand that real connection, real trust, and real leadership aren't built on being nice. They're built on being authentic. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're leading a team and someone on your team is underperforming. The nice approach might be to avoid addressing the issue directly because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You might drop hints or skirt around the problem, hoping they'll figure it out on their own. But this doesn't help them. It hurts them. They don't get the feedback they need to improve, and the problem persists, affecting the entire team. Now, imagine taking the authentic approach. You have a direct but compassionate conversation with the person. You point out the specific issues, offer support, and set clear expectations. Yes, it's uncomfortable in the moment, but it gives the person a chance to grow. It shows that you care about their development and the success of the team. It builds trust because they know you're honest and invested in their success. That's leadership, that's integrity, and that's the power of choosing authenticity over niceness. This principle applies not just in leadership, but in every area of life. In your personal relationships, being real means expressing your needs, setting boundaries, and having the courage to address issues instead of sweeping them under the rug. It means being vulnerable, even when it's scary, because vulnerability is the foundation of true intimacy. It means being willing to risk temporary discomfort for the sake of long-term connection and mutual respect. In your personal growth, being real means confronting your own fears, limitations, and blind spots. It means being honest with yourself about what you want, what you need to work on, and what's holding you back. It means saying no to the things that don't serve you and yes to the things that challenge and inspire you, even if they're outside your comfort zone. And in your larger impact on the world, being real means standing up for what you believe in, even when it's unpopular. It means using your voice to advocate for change, to challenge the status quo, to speak truth to power. It means being willing to take risks, to face criticism, and to stand alone if necessary, because you know that what you're doing matters. This is not an easy path. It requires self-awareness, courage, and resilience. It requires a willingness to disappoint people, to face conflict, and to be misunderstood. But the rewards are worth it. When you stop being nice and start being real, you gain a sense of freedom, confidence, and authenticity that can't be matched. You build deeper, more meaningful connections because people can sense when you're being genuine. You become a person of integrity, someone others can trust and respect, and you unlock your true potential because you're no longer held back by fear or the need for approval. So let me ask you this. Are you willing to stop being nice? Are you willing to let go of the need to please everyone, to avoid conflict, to be liked at all costs? Are you willing to step into the discomfort of authenticity, to speak your truth, to set boundaries, to take risks? Are you willing to prioritize integrity over approval, courage over comfort, and real connection over superficial harmony? This is not a call to be unkind or inconsiderate. It's a call to be courageous, honest, and authentic. It's a call to live with integrity, to lead with purpose, and to connect with others in a way that's real and meaningful. It's a call to stop hiding behind the mask of niceness and start showing up as your true self, because the world doesn't need more nice people. The world needs real people, people who are willing to have the hard conversations, take the bold actions, and stand for something that matters. The world needs people who are willing to risk being disliked in the short term to make a positive impact in the long term. The world needs you, not the nice version of you, but the real, authentic, powerful you. So stop being nice, start being real, and watch how your life changes. When you embrace the idea of leaving behind the constraints of being overly nice, you begin to see the world in a fundamentally different way. It becomes clear how much energy is wasted trying to meet the expectations of others, trying to smooth over every wrinkle in every relationship, and attempting to avoid the discomfort of disagreement. You realize that much of what you've been doing wasn't truly for others, but for yourself. A subconscious attempt to avoid the tension and risk that come with being authentic. The truth is, being nice in the way we've been taught is less about kindness and more about self. Here's something important to consider. Conflict isn't inherently bad. We've been conditioned to believe that disagreements are something to avoid, that conflict is destructive, and that harmony is the ultimate goal. But that's not true. Conflict, when handled with honesty and respect, is a tool for growth. It's how we learn from one another, how we refine our ideas, how we build stronger relationships. It's how progress happens. Avoiding conflict doesn't make problems go away. It just lets them grow in the shadows, unchecked and unresolved. Think about your closest relationships, the ones that truly matter to you. Are they built on niceness or are they built on honesty? The deepest, most meaningful connections come from a place of truth. They come from being able to say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what I need. And they come from allowing the other person to do the same, even when it's uncomfortable. Niceness might keep things polite, but authenticity builds trust. And trust is the foundation of every great relationship, whether it's personal or professional. When you stop focusing on being nice, you also free yourself to pursue excellence. Niceness, by its nature, seeks to avoid friction. It aims for the middle ground, the path of least resistance. But excellence often requires the opposite. It requires taking a stand, making bold decisions, and challenging the status quo. It requires being willing to make mistakes, to take risks, and to push boundaries. It's not about pleasing everyone. It's about pursuing what's right, what's meaningful, and what's necessary. And that kind of pursuit isn't always nice. It can be messy, disruptive, and uncomfortable, but it's worth it. Let's talk about boundaries. It's only those who are benefiting from your lack of boundaries who will resist when you start enforcing them. Setting boundaries requires clarity and courage. You have to be clear about what's important to you and what you're willing to tolerate. You have to be courageous enough to communicate those boundaries, even if it means facing pushback or discomfort. But once you start setting boundaries, you'll notice a shift. You'll feel more in control of your life, more aligned with your values, and more free to focus on what truly matters. You'll also notice that the quality of your relationships improves. When you're no longer overextending yourself to please others, you can show up more fully and authentically in the connections that matter most. One of the biggest fears people have about letting go of niceness is the fear of being disliked. It's a natural fear. We all want to be liked and accepted. But the truth is, being liked by everyone isn't possible, and it shouldn't be your goal. Trying to please everyone often means you end up pleasing no one, including yourself. Instead of striving to be liked, strive to be respected. Respect comes from being consistent, honest, and authentic. It comes from living with integrity and standing by your values. Not everyone will like you, and that's okay. The people who matter will appreciate you for who you are, not for the facade you present. Another key aspect of letting go of niceness is learning to deal with criticism. When you start being more authentic, not everyone will agree with you. Some people will challenge you, question you, or even reject you. And that's okay. Criticism isn't something to fear, it's something to learn from. Sometimes criticism will show you areas where you can grow, and sometimes it will simply reflect someone else's perspective. Either way, it's an opportunity to reflect, to refine your approach, and to become more resilient. Remember, the people who never face criticism are usually the ones who never take risks, never stand for anything, and never step outside their comfort zones. That's not the life you want. When you stop being nice, you also open the door to greater self-respect. There's a profound sense of freedom that comes from living authentically, from speaking your truth, from standing by your values. You no longer feel the need to constantly second-guess yourself, to seek validation from others, or to bend over backward to avoid conflict. You start to trust yourself more. You start to value your own voice. And as your self-respect grows, so does your confidence. You begin to see yourself not as a passive participant in your own life, but as an active creator of your reality. This shift also has a ripple effect. When you model authenticity, you give others permission to do the same. When you show that it's possible to live with integrity, even when it's hard, you inspire others to step into their own truth. When you prioritize respect over likability, you set a standard for the kind of relationships and communities you want to be part of. In this way, your decision to stop being nice isn't just about you. It's about creating a culture of authenticity, courage, and mutual respect. It's important to remember that authenticity doesn't mean being reckless or insensitive. It doesn't mean abandoning kindness or empathy. On the contrary, kindness becomes even more powerful when it's rooted in authenticity. When you're honest and real, your acts of kindness come from a place of genuine care, not obligation or fear. They become a choice, not a duty. And that kind of kindness has the power to truly connect, to heal, and to inspire. So where do you start? How do you begin to let go of niceness and embrace authenticity? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to the situations where you feel the pull to be nice at the expense of being real. Notice the moments when you hold back your true thoughts, avoid setting a boundary, or prioritize someone else's comfort over your own truth. And what would it look like to choose authenticity instead? Next, start small. You don't have to overhaul your entire approach to life overnight. Begin by practicing honesty in low-stakes situations. Speak up in a meeting when you have an idea or a concern. Say no to a request that doesn't align with your priorities. Have a straightforward conversation with a friend or family member about something that's been bothering you. Each small act of authenticity builds your courage and confidence, making it easier to tackle bigger challenges over time. Finally, be patient with yourself. Breaking free from the habit of niceness isn't easy, especially if it's been a core part of your identity for a long time. You'll make mistakes. You'll have moments where you slip back into old patterns. That's okay. What matters is that you keep trying, keep learning, and keep moving forward. Every step you take toward authenticity is a step toward a life of greater freedom, purpose, and impact. This journey isn't for the faint of heart, but it's one of the most rewarding journeys you can undertake. When you stop being nice and start being real, you reclaim your power. You step into your truth. You build relationships, careers, and lives that are grounded in integrity and authenticity. You stop playing small and start living boldly. And in doing so, you not only transform your own life, you inspire others to do the same. The world doesn't need more nice people. It needs real people. Be one of them. When you commit to living authentically, instead of being overly nice, you begin to notice just how much clarity enters your life. Decisions that once felt overwhelming suddenly become easier because you're no longer making choices based on how others might perceive you or whether you'll offend someone. You're making decisions based on your values, your purpose, and your truth. That clarity allows you to move forward with conviction. It allows you to focus on what truly matters, rather than being weighed down by the endless task of trying to keep everyone happy. In this clarity, you also discover an unexpected sense of peace. It's ironic because we often think that avoiding conflict and being agreeable will bring us peace, but the opposite is true. The constant need to manage others' perceptions, to anticipate their reactions, to shape your behavior around their expectations is exhausting. It creates a kind of internal chaos, a disconnection between who you are and who you pretend to be. But when you let go of that, when you decide to live authentically, a quiet strength replaces that chaos. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing you're living in alignment with your values, regardless of what others think. Authenticity doesn't mean you'll avoid discomfort altogether. In fact, choosing to live authentically often creates temporary discomfort because it forces you to step outside the patterns you've grown accustomed to. It means having conversations you might have avoided in the past. It means risking judgment, criticism, or even rejection. But here's the paradox. While the discomfort of authenticity is real, it's temporary. It passes. And on the other side of that discomfort is growth, self-respect, and freedom. The discomfort of niceness, on the other hand, is chronic. It lingers. It seeps into your relationships, your work, your sense of self, and it never goes away until you make the choice to face it head on. Living authentically also teaches you about the value of meaningful connection. It becomes clear that superficial relationships, where everyone tiptoes around the truth to avoid conflict, don't offer the depth or fulfillment that real connection does. True connection requires vulnerability. It requires the willingness to be seen for who you really are, flaws and all. And when you find people who value that kind of honesty, whether they're friends, colleagues, or partners, you realize how much richer and more fulfilling those relationships can be. They're not built on niceties or polite facades. They're built on trust, respect, and genuine care. The process of embracing authenticity also strengthens your resilience. When you stop relying on external validation to define your worth, you build an inner strength that can't be shaken by others' opinions or criticism. You learn to stand tall in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, because you know who you are and what you stand for. That kind of resilience doesn't just help you navigate the challenges of life, it also empowers you to take bigger risks, to dream bigger dreams, and to pursue the kind of life you truly want. Over time, this approach transforms how you see yourself and your place in the world. You stop striving to fit into molds that were never meant for you. You stop apologizing for who you are or shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Instead, you step into your power, you take up space, you speak your mind, and in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. When you live authentically, you create a ripple effect. People notice. They sense your confidence, your clarity, and your courage. They see that you're not trying to be perfect or to please everyone, you're simply being real. And that kind of authenticity is magnetic. It draws people in, not because you're nice, but because you're genuine. It challenges them to reflect on their own lives, their own choices, and their own patterns of behavior. It gives them permission to show up more fully as themselves. The world needs more of that. It needs more people who are willing to take the risk of being real. It needs people who are willing to speak the truth, to set boundaries, to lead with integrity, and to challenge the status quo. It needs people who aren't afraid to stand out, to take a stand, and to live boldly. And when you decide to stop being nice and start being authentic, you become one of those people. You become a catalyst for change, not just in your own life, but in the lives of everyone you touch. In conclusion, the pursuit of being overly nice often leads us to suppress our authenticity, compromise our boundaries, and live in a way that prioritizes pleasing others over being true to ourselves. While niceness might provide temporary harmony, it ultimately holds us back from meaningful growth, genuine connection, and the freedom to live with integrity. Choosing authenticity over niceness is not about abandoning kindness, but about anchoring it in honesty and respect. It's about embracing the discomfort of truth to build trust, the courage to face conflict for the sake of progress, and the strength to stand firmly in our values. By letting go of the need to be liked by everyone, we discover the power of being respected, the clarity of living in alignment with our purpose, and the resilience to navigate challenges with confidence. We create relationships built on depth and trust, find peace in being true to ourselves, and inspire others to do the same. The world doesn't need more people who are agreeable for the sake of it. It needs people who are bold, real, and unapologetically themselves. And you know what? We don't need perfect people. We just need people who are bold, real, and unapologetically themselves. So stop being the nice person who hides behind politeness and start being the authentic person who dares to live boldly, truthfully, and fully.